Imagine not being able to read the paper because your hands were shaking. Imagine not being able to read newsprint as your world faded to black. The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. On this special edition of NFB Newsline, we'll share some of the inspirational and informative interviews of 2019. With your host, Lee Martin, and co-host, Florence Myers-McSwine.
Well, welcome to this segment of the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana show. We're talking with our guest today, Mr. Brian Clark. And Brian, we were talking during the commercial about some technology out there and some apps that are working well for you. So let's continue in that conversation.
Sure. So, new stuff comes out all the time. I mean, it's so exciting for me in the field that I'm in, just because it's like Christmas. About once a month, something comes along and it's like, oh, this is so cool. This is so neat. The new changes with NFBNewsline are exciting. The stuff that's going on with IRA, that's AIRA, it's just such a blessing and an amazing thing. IRA is kind of like a video chat kind of service where you can call a dedicated operator and you hold your phone up and that person at the other end can look through your camera and give you sighted assistance. The thing that I probably use it for the most is this. Usually when I drop something, I've gotten good. If I drop something, I listen for which way it bounces. And we can kind of hear where stuff bounces. So if it falls, I can pick it up. But if there's carpeting and it bounces a weird way, I'm going to bend down and I'm going to try and find it on the floor. And after about 3 minutes, I go, okay, this is dumb. So I call IRA, and I just hold my phone and I point it at the ground, and they go, yep, it's over there. And so I reach over there and I pick it up. And so there's a lot of times where it's just a simple 30-second call. Is this dish soap? Is this a can of, whatever you want to identify. So with IRA, even though it's a paid service, now your first 5 minutes are free, which means anybody can call. Mm-hmm. And so just to have somebody on the other end, when my wife is busy and she can't help me, just to have somebody on the other end be able to give me sighted assistance is really a nice feature.
It is. Another set of eyes right there with you.
Yeah, and that's a great thing about IRA. They also have the glasses that goes along with that. And the glasses has a camera lens right in the bridge of it. So you can have that 180-degree vision. And I use that all the time, particularly as you talk about the difficulties with cane travel. It used to be where IRA would get you to a curb or a street crossing, and they couldn't help you any further across the street. Well, now they can do that as of this month of November. I think it was November 4th. So only thing they can strictly talk about is you crossing the street. If you're beginning to veer one way or the other, they'll correct you. Right. And that's a great tool to have. And then another piece about IRA is the team viewer. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've used that feature.
I have not used that yet.
But it's on your phone. You can use it on your phone as well as on your computer. Okay. And if you're having a problem, if you're new to the computer, or if you're just having a problem with it and you can't figure it out, you can call the agent up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they can access your computer, and they'll help you fix a problem or create a document or review a document or fill in an application. Or it's just a fantastic service, and I just can't say enough about them because I really enjoy IRA. And for veterans, veterans can receive the service for $29 a month for 400 minutes. Wow. Which is fantastic. Yeah. 400 minutes. It doesn't sound like a lot, but
That's
it is
a
a lot.
lot
You
of minutes.
never use them, and I really like that portion of it too. So for veterans, you need this type of service. You can use it, and you know now, like you said, with the 5 minute, your 5 minutes is up, and then you call right back in.
Yeah.
And get continued 5
Right.
minutes. And if you're fortunate enough, like Florence has been in the past, you can receive the agent that
Oh,
you
the
just
same
spoke
one?
with.
So you don't have to explain what you're trying to do again.
That's right, you know.
Yeah.
And for seniors that aren't blind or visually impaired, you can use that 5 minute service as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's a great tool to have.
It is. It's-
What else do you have there that you like?
So a couple other things that have come out in the past year that have me really excited. I'm actually wearing a little thing on my arm. It's about the size of a quarter, and it is stuck to my arm, and it's going to stay there for the next 2 weeks. And this little device, I hold my phone up to this little device, and it tells me my blood sugar. And so from a blind person, you know, I can prick my finger, because I'm diabetic, and I can prick my finger and hold the machine up and do my blood testing, and I can do all that stuff, but I can't tell when I stop bleeding. So I make messes all the time. So it was very frustrating for me to have to deal with, you know, testing my blood sugar. Well, now I just hold my phone up, and I can tell what my blood sugar is and keep a good idea and stay up to date on all that. And so that's a thing called Freestyle Libre, and that's not even something that's designed for blind people, but it is something that has been made accessible to blind people. And the app on the phone is fully accessible, and I can get in there and I can work it and do all that kind of stuff. Another thing that came out a couple weeks ago is a service called Script Talk. And that is a service where they make special labels that go on your prescription bottles. And inside that label is a little device. And when you hold your phone up to your bottle, it reads the label and tells you what medications are inside. And so what that does is that allows me the independence to fully deal with all my own medications, because I can now tell what's inside each bottle. Not only can I feel the pills and kind of feel them that way, but when I get a brand new bottle of pills, I just hold my phone up. Oh, this is my blood pressure medication. And now I know what it is.
And these are tools that are free.
These are absolutely free, and they're on the iPhone. And what it does is it grants independence.
It does. It
Absolutely.
does. Now, you mentioned also something that was really interesting to me, something about grocery app.
Yeah. So within the last year, a service has started. It's called Instacart, INSTACART. And again, this is not a service that is for the blind people, but it has been made accessible to the blind. Instacart is a personal grocery shopping service where I take out my phone and I open the app and I pick what store I want to go to, whether that's Kroger or Meijer or Costco, Sam's Club, all these different stores. Once I pick my store, then I start to go through this list of items available. And if I find an item that I want, let's say I find Diet 7-Up, I just flick up on the phone and it adds it to my cart. And I can also go down and I can do searches. If I want to find Doritos or ground beef or whatever, I can do my search, and then I find my item, I add them to my cart. When I'm done, I do my checkout. I pick the time that I want the person to show up at my house, and I make arrangements for payment. I click complete my order. The person goes to the store, does all my shopping, comes to my house, comes inside my house, drops it on my kitchen table, says thank you very much, and that's it. And so now I can do all of my grocery shopping, if I want, completely on my own.
Reading. I was a big reader. I always have been. I love to read, and I would literally carry a stack of Braille books almost as tall as myself. And I would continue to read. But as a child, there wasn't a lot of access to magazines. And so I would go to the store with my mom or friends or whoever, and I'd be touching those glossy magazines and wondering, what's in there? What exactly is it that these people are reading? Because there wasn't much of that type of access. And so I was so excited when the NFB Newsline program did come along, at first I wasn't too sure because it was a dial-up service, but after a while they were able to get it onto the iPhones and the Android phones, and for me that was great because I'm a really busy person, so I wanted to be able to take it with me, and I literally can do that. And so I'm able now to just read all of those magazines that I wanted to read, the TV listings, sale ads. I'm a mom, and so, you know, you're always shopping for somebody. And so, you know, I use it for a lot of various things.
We'll be back with more of the best of NFB Newsline after this. If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I use NFB Newsline when reading Hammond Northwest Times.
Using NFB Newsline, I read the Christian Science magazine.
Dad, you're regularly filling both, too.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Live the life you want. Read NFB Newsline.
It's free. Thousands of Indiana residents feel isolated from the world due to vision problems. Thanks to the National Federation of the Blind, visually impaired Hoosiers can hear newspapers, circulars, and magazines from across the globe.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm blind. I read Stars and Stripes on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline.
A fight had broke out in the club. So a member of the people that I was with, which was the owner's son, he got on the microphone. They had broke the fight up. And he said what he said on the microphone. He was like, "You guys messed up my father's club last week. It's not gonna be none of that this week because I got my boys with me," but I didn't know anything about the situation at the time. I didn't even know they had a situation a week before that, and then he dropped the microphone. So they started playing the music again. Now, this last fight was a doozy. It was like something you seen in a cowboy movie. You know, people was getting hit with chairs, bottles. It was just slow motion, and I had dreams about that, and I still have dreams about it to this day, you know. Some way, somehow, they had stopped the fight, and they put the guys out that caused the ruckus. But the police said that they followed them down the road. That was a lie. And those guys waited outside in that parking lot, and they waited. So as people was getting dismissed from the club, like I said, they was outside waiting. And what I remember, and when I stepped off that sidewalk, I looked to my right and I seen the guy's face for a short time. Very short time, but I seen his face. And shortly after that, I got pushed from the left side and my body went kind of sideways. And I had got hit and, you know, got shot in the head. And I had went down to the ground, witnesses said. And when I rose up, my eyes was hanging out of my head and I was walking. And after the fourth step, face first on the concrete. And that was the end of that, you know. It wasn't really the end, it was the beginning of a long fight. They didn't know I was gonna make it through the night. It was just rough. They didn't think I was gonna live. And it was a trying time for me. And my mother tells the story, you know, they had got a phone call and they wouldn't really tell them over the telephone how severe it was, but my mother knew that I had to get, that they had to get there. So the doctors, Terry Horner, and I believe the other doctor's name was Dr. Thong. He was from Vietnam. And my mother remembered the doctor looking her in her face the whole time. And she seen the fear in his face.
Well, Garcia, we're going to take us a short pause, and we're going to come back with more of Mr. Garcia Scott's very moving story or reality. And before we go, you know, in this year, just this year alone, and this incident happened with him some time ago. What was it, some 25 years ago, Florence?
25 years.
And here today, 2019, the homicide rate, we have 112 homicides in the city of Indianapolis alone. That's not with the country. Just because individuals such as Garcia wanted to do a celebration, minding his own business, enjoying himself, and we must find a way to stop the homicides, the crime, the gun violence. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
We'll be back with more of the best of NFB Newsline after this.
We are the nation's blind, and we read NFB Newsline.
As I travel the nation, I read NFB Newsline.
I live in Valparaiso, Indiana, and I listen to my local news on NFB Newsline.
As a student, I enjoy reading current events on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today. What are some of the articles that you like to read about on NFB Newsline?
Well, let's talk about that. Let's say the first thing in the morning. Let's do that. I get up around 5:40 a.m., get dressed, get a shower, get dressed, wait for my ride. So I have about 15 to 18 minutes. And what I do is I grab the cordless telephone, kind of hang out by the front door, listening for my ride. But then I'll hit the local newspaper, the Terre Haute Tribune Star newspaper. I'll skim through that and get an idea of recent articles that have been published, so I have a knowledge of what's taking place that day. I also then, for my professional work, I check the obituaries because that's something to know that gives me sort of an idea if I've had one of my consumers pass, and on many occasions, I have learned about the passing of an individual that I have provided low vision services to through the NFB Newsline. And that saves me an embarrassment to have called the family to say, how's Joe Smith today? And they're like, Joe Smith's no longer with us. Because sometimes they forget to call me. So NFB Newsline obituary section for the Terre Haute Tribune Star is a crucial tool for me in that part of my work. With my radio stations, I still do public affairs shows, and the NFB Newsline gives me ideas about recent council meetings, activities coming up, a pulse of that community to direct me to contact individuals to schedule radio interviews with those entities. That's the work side of it. Do you want to talk about the fun side now?
Yeah, let's talk about the fun side. What kind of fun you have?
Well, I've been a music person all of my life, and I love Rolling Stone magazine. And Rolling Stone, if you time it just right, you can hit that issue before it gets to the other, in fact, on Tuesdays, Tuesday night, I usually go through there about every other week, and I read several of the articles. I like them, more in-depth articles. So that's for pleasure. I also read a variety of magazines, anything from Bride Monthly to Consumer Reports, just to kind of give me some, different things I want there. I really like the magazines. Time Magazine has some really good articles. I read the Chicago newspapers. They have some excellent writers, and gives me perspective on anything from gardening or this time of the year, winter tips to keep you from being depressed.
Welcome back to this segment of the National Federation of the Blind Indiana with our guests Russell, Lee, and Express Vote.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, when you go to your vote center location on Election Day in Marion County, or you go to one of the satellite voting locations before Election Day, you will have this Express Vote machine at that polling location. Now, in order to use the Express Vote, which is where you will vote, or that's how you will vote on Election Day, an election worker will first insert a blank paper ballot into the machine. So I have a blank paper ballot here, and for those of you that are watching, you can see that this paper ballot is completely blank. When you insert the paper ballot into the voting machine, you want to make sure that the notch, there's a notch in the top right corner here, matches with the notch on the voting machine. But the election worker will do that for you, and they will insert the they'll insert the paper ballot into the voting machine. And there will be some noise from the machine that acknowledges that it is scanning that paper ballot into the machine. Next, the election worker will select the precinct for you on Election Day. For purposes of this mock ballot, we will just select precinct 0101. And I will hit activate, which will bring up the questions onto the screen. Now, if someone is voting and they are using the Express Vote and they are visually impaired, we have a few options for you. You can either have someone assist you in using the touch screen, or you can actually use the keypad that comes with the Express Vote voting machine along with the headphones. And the machine will actually read the questions that are on the ballot as well as the answers that are on the ballot as well. And so for purposes of this demonstration, Mr. Lee, I will ask you to grab the keypad, and the keypad is located on the right side of the Express Vote machine, and it is Velcroed onto the machine.
And it is really Velcro.
Yes, it is. You know it is not going to fall.
Okay.
And we also have headphones that we plug into the machine. And Mr. Lee has the headphones as well. So if you can put on the headphones.
Okay.
And you may have to adjust the volume so you can get the volume to a level that you are comfortable.
Okay. So on this keypad, I noticed that you do have Braille.
Yes.
And I do notice that on the lower right-hand corner, you have the cells of letters for VOL, and there's for volume.
Yes.
And to adjust the volume, you have for the left button, there's two buttons here, like a toggle switch, and you can lower with the left button and increase with the right button.
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm there. Okay. And you'll hear a beep when it goes up and down. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And you can also adjust the tempo of the machine reading the questions to you. You can speed that up or you can slow it down as well.
Okay, and that's also, it has a toggle switch, so to speak. And to the left is slowing the voice down, and to the right is increasing the voice.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I do want to note that for those that will use the touch screen, for example, if there is someone who is hearing impaired, but they're using the touch screen, there is a zoom feature to where they can make the text larger, and that's on the screen here. If you hit that zoom button, it will make the text larger. Then there's a contrast button as well that will make the screen darker if there's too much sunlight hitting that room or if the room is really bright.
That's good to know. Now, I'm impressed with the keypad. simply because the Braille is very noticeable for those that have certain forms of nephropathy that can't actually feel, but this Braille is very well defined.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go ahead and show how we would actually vote. We got 2 minutes.
All right. All right, so you can use that keypad by pressing the down arrow to move to one of the answers. Okay. And this is a mock ballot, and the machine, you can confirm that the machine did read the question to you, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The question on this mock ballot is, should e-cigarettes be prohibited for use by people under the age of 21? And it's a yes or no question. And you can select either one of those answers, and we'll proceed to the next question.
Okay. Now, just hit select.
Yes.
Which is in the center of the keypad with the S there. It's a square, and that's where you would select, as you would say. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So select it. Okay.
And for those of you that are watching at home, there's a check mark on the screen where Mr. Lee did select. Now there's an option for him to print his ballot card.
Okay.
So after Mr. Lee hits select, you hear the express vote machine, and it has printed the selections that he made. And you can see now that there is text on the ballot, as well as a barcode on the ballot, which allows for this to be scanned by our election equipment. And so this ballot card will be inserted on election day into another voting machine so that it is counted. If it is before election day, it will be sealed in an envelope, and the envelope will be opened by your county election board on election day, and it will be counted at that time.
Well, so that completes this, correct?
That is correct.
Well, shoot, Mr. Russell, Marvelous Russell.
Yes, Marvelous Russell.
I certainly want to thank you once again for coming out today and demonstrating this to us and our listening and viewing audience. Please, listening audience and viewing audience, please get out and exercise your right to vote. Informed consumers make informed decisions. And in order to do that as well, you can read the National Federation of the Blind Newsline to help better inform you about who's running, what they stand for, so that you can make informed decisions. So, Florence, it's been a great show. And once again, Mr. Russell,
yes,
thank you very much for coming out to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline special show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you very much.
For more information, go to nfb-in.org or call 855-963-6476. That's 855-963-6476. The National Federation of the Blind encourages you to live the life you want.